at her.
Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. My name is Danielle and this is Amber. Today we're going to talk about some books that have been on our bookshelves, but we just haven't gotten around to reading them, and we really want to get to them this year. So here are all the books, and we're going to go through them in no particular order. We're just going to start with pretty much random. The first book is A Stranger in the House by Shari LaPena.
And this book is her follow-up to The Couple Next Door, which...
yeah, we read this one first.
And so this apparently was, okay, I'm not trying to be shady, but this was a New York Times bestseller. So she did really well, and so she comes out with her sophomore book, which is A Stranger in the House. And this synopsis doesn't even sound that good.
It's a really short book.
But, like, to be honest, I wanted it because I just wanted to put it on our bookshelf like this. Like, we needed a small book, and it looked aesthetically pleasing. And we already had this book, so I was like, okay,
and
let's
we
just try
found it.
this.
We found it at a thrift store. So.
Yeah, and it was really cheap. But essentially, it says it's like this woman, she's home making dinner for her husband, and then she gets the call that she hoped she'd never get, and she jumped to her car. She raced to a neighborhood she thought she'd never visit, so I guess like a shady neighborhood. They tell her husband Tom has been in an accident. She must have lost control of her car as she sped through the roughest part of town. After that, she remembered nothing. I'm just like,
what?
So she's kind of doing the same thing she did here, where the character doesn't remember things, and we thought that part of the twist at the end of the book was kind of whack. So I don't know. Like,
maybe it's
that's
not
why
the same thing. Maybe it's just an unreliable narrator for a different reason. Like, yeah. I hope she's not doing that same thing.
Yeah, I don't think it's the same thing. It's just I don't like the unreliable narrator that much, and so yeah, I'm not like super hyped to read this book. That's why it's been sitting here. I actually added this to my TBR like 4 months ago,
but since we have it, we might as well read it. Like, why not?
And it looks pretty short.
Yeah, it's literally 300 pages, and these pages seem a little small. So
that's what I like for it.
This is like a one-day read.
Yeah,
on audiobook. So the next book that we really have to get through this year is A Little Life by Hana.
No, Hanya.
No, I'm talking about the second one.
Oh,
so Hana Gihara. This has been going around book 2 for a while, and I've seen people review this book and they're like, ugh, this is like the saddest book you'll ever read.
Yeah, like I saw people literally weeping and sobbing, and it's like a super thick book. And
800 pages.
800 pages, and it's like just dense. Like very little dialogue. So it's like I've been like kind of intimidated by it. I've been putting it off, but I love books that make me cry. I know this one, it follows 4 college classmates, but they're all best friends with Jude. And I know he went through some really bad childhood trauma, and I guess it stays with him. And this follows like their entire lives from like 20s or like college age. I like epic stories like that. It's just a lot to read, but I have to get this done in 2021.
Okay, so this book has been on our TBR for the longest, maybe like 3-4 months. Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. And the reason why we haven't got around to it is just because, in general, we end up not liking romances. And it's not because like we're some haters on the whole genre. It's just we love romantic subplots in regular books, but when it's like a full romance, it just goes off the rails and it's too cheesy and corny and
or like skewing for like a YA audience and not trying to like be shady. It's just like it'd be like, oh, like the characters are immature, so that's why they have to deal with the relationship problems that they're in. And I really like the synopsis of this one, so I wanted to give it a chance. So it's basically like a male romance between the first family's son and in England the prince, like probably the first in line, I'm assuming. And it's kind of like forbidden, I guess. It's dealing with a lot of politics. That's what I've heard about this book, and I saw some
I've actually heard that it was really boring.
This will say I've heard people say they love the politics part because it's like a reimagining, like if Hillary Clinton would have won the 2016 election, so it's like a fantasy in that way. But I've also heard it's bogged down and is a really long book, especially for romance, like 400 pages, I think. So I don't know. I've been putting this off. I don't know if it's like I'm definitely gonna read this one.
I think I will. I'll download the audiobook. If I don't like it at like 30%, I'm just gonna DNF it.
Yeah.
The next book we want to read is a thriller. It's actually by Claire McIntosh, and it's I Let You Go.
And we got this one at a thrift store, so I was like, might as well give it a chance, because I heard some people talking about Claire and they're like, this is her best book. I don't even know why I've been putting this off, but like I have the ebook and we had the physical book. I don't know. Thriller's just always kind of like, it's pretty short, let us down, so I'm kind of like, do we really want to read it? Actually, if they had the audiobook, I'll definitely get to it, but if not, we got to get through these books. So
I know.
Well,
it says, on a rainy afternoon, a mother's life is shattered as her son slips from her grip and runs into the street. So that's like,
and I like that. That's I Let You Go. I heard it's fast paced and it has an over 4 rating on Goodreads. I think 4.2 or 3. So
that could be good.
We'll try it.
The next book we want to read is The Red Lotus by Chris Bohjalian. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Hope I am. But yeah, this is a thriller, right?
I think so, or it's like a mystery, something like that. And this was a 2020 release. We saw it, I think we went to Barnes & Noble and I saw it. I'm like, that's so pretty. Like, that'll go with our shelves. So we kind of bought it based on the cover. And I read the synopsis, but basically his first 2 books, I know one is The Flight Attendant, was a New York Times bestseller. I mean, who knows what that means these days, but a lot of people read it, I guess, or it was high, like, I don't know. But it's got like a pretty low rating. It's like a 3.65, I think, on Goodreads.
Wow.
So that's why I kind of been putting off. But I don't like to do that because there's a book, if you guys know Raven Leilani's Luster.
This is so pretty.
Is a 3.6, and I really love that book, even though it wasn't a perfect book for me. Even if it's not a great book, I still want to form my own opinion, so we got to give this one a chance.
The last thriller we want to read is Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough.
So this is a thriller. I think it's a domestic suspense one. And I don't know, I just saw a couple of people on BookTube say that it was good, but...
Is this the one with the crazy twist?
Yes. This one is dependent on a crazy twist where I think some people say it's definitely shocking. That's a consensus. But some people say it's ridiculous. So I'm like honestly just curious to see. But I feel like it's going to be one of those like... Ridiculous that we just like, okay, you just ruined the whole book. But it's pretty short. It's like 300 pages. And I'm just like, we could breeze through this one. And they don't have the audiobook at our library. So I've been putting it off. But... it's a quick read, so we'll probably just get through the physical book.
So the next book is just a book that I have to read. Amber already read it, but it's The Invisible Life of ADDIE LARUE by D.E. Schwab. Now, I've heard so much praise about this book. You love this book. You gave it 5 stars. A lot of people...
I would say legit a 5-star. Like, this is... I made no concessions, but it's still not 100% a perfect book.
I don't think a book has to be perfect for you to get 5 stars.
This was my favorite of 2020 just because... it has an amazing story, like an amazing point to it, and that is what I'm looking for when I'm reading books.
Okay, yeah. I've heard nothing but good things about this book, but the reason why I haven't read it yet is because I really want to listen to the audiobook, and I'm just waiting for it to be available because she read the physical, but I kind of want to read the audiobook and then just compare our experiences, so it'll be available in like 2 to 3 weeks, so I'm going to get to this as soon as it's ready.
Yeah, and I feel like it might be a different experience only because this book, I feel like the writing is the most amazing part. Well, I can't say that. It's the story and the writing. That's why I liked it. This has fantasy in it, which I usually don't go for. There's like a darkness character, and I'm like, it's kind of like the devil, and I usually don't go for stuff like that, but her writing made me be like, oh, I could dispel my disbelief. Like, who cares? Like, I'm all in for this. But it's not fantasy like epic fantasy or high fantasy. It's like low fantasy, and it's like based in the real world. It's time sleeping, so it's historical too. So it's like all of these elements that I usually like. I don't really read historical fiction either, but it just worked. I want to make a prediction. I think
I'm gonna give it 5 stars.
Oh, I was gonna say I think you're gonna give it like a 4.
Why?
I don't know.
So the last 3 books we want to read are all nonfiction. We actually made it a goal to read more nonfiction this year, even though last year we read a few. It's just sometimes we need to cleanse our palate from all the fiction.
And the good thing about all of these is they're all by Black authors.
So the first one is Thick by Tressie McMillan Cottom. And this is just a collection of essays about just living as a larger woman.
I know Roxane Gay gave her stamp of approval on this book. And if you don't know, she wrote Bad Feminist and Hungry. Or is it Hunger? One of those.
Hunger.
And yeah, I think it should be a good read. It's a quick read. It's just some essays, so we're hoping to just get through it.
Some essays and I saw like a poem in here. So yeah, it's gonna be really quick, but I'm just hoping for something like really powerful. Yeah. The next nonfiction that we want to read is A Promised Land by Barack Obama. This came out last year, but we're waiting for the audiobook because it is so long. It's so dense. Like, I'm holding this up and this is so heavy, and I kind of peek through and look through, and it's like so dense. It's like extra dense, and the pages literally are so thin. Like, it's way thinner than a regular book. So I feel like they didn't want it to be like, 1,000+ pages, so they made the pages really thin, and they didn't want to make it like too thick. Obviously, it's for like financial reasons also, but just I think they just wanted to make it look a little bit less intimidating, but it still is. So yeah, we're waiting for the audiobook. I really loved Becoming by Michelle Obama. I loved her storytelling infused with what really happened, and so I'm hoping, I haven't read Obama's other books like The Audacity of Hope, but that's on my TBR too. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go backwards. I think I'm gonna read this and then go back to I think that was 2007 or something when he published that one. I'm just hoping it's not too politics heavy. Obviously it's going to be mainly about politics, but I hope he weaves in some stories and personal anecdotes and makes things a little bit lighter, because we're reading this in 2021 when we just went through like the worst 4-year presidency of death in our lifetime. So we'll see. The last nonfiction book that we want to read is CASTE by Isabel Wilkerson. This book was actually on Obama's favorite books of 2020 list and Oprah's book club
and so many other people's. We bought this a long time ago, but I just haven't gotten to it because this is another one where it's like a really dense nonfiction, gonna be about some historical things. I really like to listen to those, so I was on a wait list for over 6 months. It's finally, I think I only have like 4 more weeks, so I'm definitely reading this as soon as I get it. But I just know this is gonna be reminiscent of my experience of reading Stamped from the Beginning by Ibram Kendi. I feel like it's like that's a perfect book to start with, and then I'm going to get more in depth, more details. So I think these are good companion books. If you read the other one, you'll probably like this one. If you read this one, you'll like Stamped from the Beginning. So yeah, I'm really excited for this, and this cover is so pretty.
I know.
If you look at it up close, it's like, I think, a bunch of historical figures. I don't know, I just love it. Maybe reading it, I'll understand who those people are, but I just love the way it looks, so that's why we bought it ahead of time. But I just wanted to support this author. I've heard she's amazing, so really excited to read this one. Okay, so is there one book that you're like most looking forward to and you know you're 100% gonna read? Like, you have to hold yourself to this one.
Yep, I already said so, and it's The Invisible Life of ADDIE LARUE. I just have to get through it. I should have been read it. Like, well, I did cheat. I kind of read the first 2 chapters, like, just on my phone. So this one, definitely.
Okay, and I'm looking forward to CASTE, just because I've been on a real anti-racist kick in 2020, and for 2021 I want to continue that. And like I said, I have literally heard nothing but amazing things about this. I don't know what this is rated on Goodreads, but I'm sure it's like super high, so yeah, I have to hold myself to this. But I don't have to. Like, I'm already excited to read it. I know I'm going to read it 100% as soon as it comes from Libby. Yeah,
so those are all the books that we're just so anxious to get to. Some we just have been putting off, but we have to get to, and some, like I said, we're waiting for the audiobook, but
we just have to hold ourselves to it.
Yeah. So do you guys do the same thing? Do you guys buy books and put them on your bookshelves and like don't get to it for like a long time?
I feel like it's easy to do it if you buy it like we did.
Yeah.
Basing off of the cover, or sometimes if it's at the thrift shop and maybe it's a popular book you've heard about, you're like, oh, I'm just gonna get it, like we did with Red, White, and Royal Blue. But we weren't really motivated to read it just because of our experiences with the romances. But like, we just gotta read it.
So that's it, guys. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye, guys.
Dummy. Sick.